Hi all. Hope you're all doing great. So as you have seen in our last video, right, we have seen like how to create a Microsoft Azure account. So in this video, we'll be mainly focusing on how to create an Azure Storage account, right? So before starting the video, we should know what and all we are going to cover it in this video, right? So we'll be trying to understand what is a Azure Storage account, what is ADLS Gen2, what is Blob Storage, the type of storage accounts that we have in Azure. Then we'll see like how to create this storage account step by step, and we'll configure the blob storage and ADLS Gen2 storage. All those we'll be exploring from the storage standpoint. We'll be creating a storage services, and we'll see at the end of this video we'll be having a clear understanding of okay how we can create a blob storage, how we can upload the data, how we can download the data, how we play with the Azure storage, right? So at the end of the video, we'll be having a clear picture of like how we play around with this Azure storage, right? So now, so before we move on discussing further on blob storage and this one Azure blob storage and this ADLS Gen2 storage, right? We should know like okay how it has evolved. Previously, we are having simple storage file system and cloud, which has few demerits when it was started around 2013 and all. After that, we have come to the blob storage, where we will be able to we are able to store images, videos, logs, backup files, and all that, right? So, but it has few drawbacks where we don't have any hierarchical namespace attached with it, and we are not able to get good performance from Hadoop and Spark optimization standpoint. For that reason, Azure has come up with a new file format where blob storage plus hierarchical namespace plus enterprise grade data lake features they have added, and which is mainly used for our real-time data analytics projects, right? So, which is of our main focus here. So now just to understand, okay, what is blob storage, right? It is binary large object. Okay. But the problem with this blob is, right, it is not having a folder structure. So whenever we are working with any real time project, right, well, we need to be having a proper organized folder structure. Since it is not having like let's say whenever we are having any file on this blob, right, we'll be having the structure. There will be a root folder. Under that we'll be having everything. But when you come to uh, our ADLS Gen2, right, we can create folder structures and all that. Since it is giving the hierarchical namespace attached with blob storage, right, we can create folders and organize the data properly as we want. So that is going to help mainly for our big data solutions, right? So for that reason, our focus mainly should be we'll be seeing like how we can create a blob storage. We'll be seeing how we can create a ADLS Gen2 storage. But going forward, mostly we'll be using this our ADLS Gen2, because this is our primary focus as we'll be learning through, right, we'll be learning Databricks, Azure Synapse, Data Factory, Apache Spark, and whatever we'll be exploring, right? That file system will ADLS Gen2 will be considering that as a base, and from there we'll be exploring further. So now we'll be mainly focusing on the blob storage and ADLS Gen2 storage, and we'll create it. We'll see how we can create it. Okay. So as we have discussed, like we have blob storage and ADLS Gen2, right? There are few other storage services are also there, like Azure file share, Azure table storage, where the data can be stored in the table format. We have Azure Queue storage, where like Kafka, right? Those kind of services that we can that can be used here. But like we have different services, I mean storage services, but whenever we are going to use which services, that depends on like which services, I mean which what is your purpose to build the application, right? For what reason we are building the application? Based on that, we are going to choose the uh, storage. So as we are focusing on mainly our PySpark learning, so we'll be using our Azure ADLS Gen2 storage. So we'll be seeing how we can create that, right? So now, before creating, right, so we should understand few things. Okay, so whenever we have created in the last video, we have created one Azure account, right? So whenever we create any Azure account, right, along with that, we'll get one tenant ID by default. Like whenever any company registers with Azure, right, they will be getting one tenant ID. That we can see how we'll see the tenant ID. Like as we have created one account, right, we should be having one tenant ID. That we'll see how we can see the tenant ID. And under that tenant ID, right, there will be different subscription. Let's say if you are having for dev environment, you will be having one subscription, and production one subscription, QA one subscription, stage one subscription, and all that, right? So for that also, by default, whenever we're creating any Azure account, we'll be having a tenant ID. We will see that how we can get those tenant ID and subscription IDs. And we'll be having a resource logical container to group the resources, right? So we need to create one resource group. So in order to start creating any services over Azure, right? Since these two we will be getting by default, we need to create a resource group. Under that resource group, we will be creating different services, right? So like storage, data factory, Databricks, Fabric, whatever services that we are going to create under that resource group only we will be creating. So now, as we know, like we are our focus is mainly to have like create a blob storage and see how it is not supporting the hierarchical namespace, and we'll see like how our ADLS Gen2 supports the uh, directory structure and supports the hierarchical namespace, which is mainly used for our big data analytics, right? So now, so let us see what we are trying to create in this video, right? So now if you see what we are going to create, our main intention is to create a storage account, right? So we'll be creating a storage account. But before that, as we have discussed here, right? Since we have tenant ID available with us, since we have created the account, and since the subscription ID is also available with us by default, we are going to, before creating a storage account, we need to be having one uh, resource group, right? We can create one resource group. Inside that, we'll be having every services we can create for whatever we are trying to do. Right now, see, as we have this, we have already this account. So if you see over here in this diagram, right, we have this already ready with us. Tenant ID, I mean, we have, since you have created that account, and subscription ID is also automatically provided by Azure when we have created the account. So now we'll create a resource group, and inside that, we'll create one storage account, and we'll see in the storage account how we can explore blob storage and ADLS Gen2 storage. So now, without doing further delay, let's go and we'll start creating the uh, storage account, right? So let's go here. I'm just opening the Azure homepage. Okay, this is the homepage of Azure as we have seen in the last video, right? So this is the account that we have created, right? So now what we are going to do, we are going to see, okay, before we start creating that, right, I just trying to show you, right, I just trying to show you the tenant ID and the subscription ID, right? So how we can see that in that account, right? So we need to search for the Microsoft Entra ID. So, so now if you go there, we can see out the tenant ID as we are discussing, right? This is our tenant ID. Okay. So as we are seeing here, we will be having a tenant ID. In the previous image, right, we will be having a tenant ID, and we have that ID now. We have seen that tenant ID. Now we need to see the subscription, right? Subscriptions. What are subscriptions that we have? So since we have done only by default, this is the subscription ID and this should be active, right? You see, this is subscription ID. This is active, right? So now we have seen like subscription ID, tenant ID. Under that, we'll be creating a resource group, and in that resource group, we'll be creating our storage services, right? So now, since we have seen all those two, right? Now we are going to create a resource group. Yeah, resource group, right? So we'll see how we can create that resource group now, right? Create the resource group. So since we are in Bangalore, we'll choose this South India region. We'll come to this region in some time. What is this region? But resource group name, what is the resource group name that we are going to give? Let's see. I think I have some resource group name. We can give this name. Any name we can give it. It will just validate whether this is existing or not. If it is not, we'll be able to, we can click on the review and create, and we'll be, so just remember whatever the services that we are going to create now, we should be creating in the same region, or else we'll be having latency issue and processing issues, right? So in order to get good performance, all the services that we are going to create based on the location that you have logged in, based on that we're going to choose this region, right? So create and review and create. So now you see, let's create this one. So the moment you create the region service, it is going to be created, and it took very less time and it got created, right? Now we can go to the resource group, right? So resource group is created. This is the resource group that we have created now. It is available with us now. So now, as we have seen in the diagram, right, we have created this resource group now, and this resource, under this resource group, we are going to create the storage services, right? Here also you have seen uh, we have this resource group created now, and we will be creating inside that the storage account where we will be exploring blob storage. We'll upload few files. We'll create a ADLS Gen2 storage, and we'll upload few files and see. And we have Databricks and all that. That will not be exploring now, but our main focus would be on creating the storage and having these things explored now. So now, since we are ready with this resource group, let's try to create the storage account, right? So now I'm just going to create a storage account, and we'll be creating the storage account. Storage, yeah, create. So now, while creating a storage account, right, it's going to ask few details to us, right? So we should understand what are all those. So now let's go one by one. So subscription, anyway, by default that we have got, I have shown you, right? Already the default subscription that is by default chosen. So resource group just now we have created. So we are just going to choose that resource group because we are going to use that resource group, right? So we have just created Azure Data Engineering, the resource group that we will be going to choose. Under that, we are going to create the storage account, right? So now, what will be the storage account name that we are going to give? We can give any name, but I'm just giving, since we are going to create two different, for one for Azure, sorry, one for Blob Storage. If it is not giving, we can just give one, something like this. Still it is there. Can give one. This says this field can only contain lowercase. Okay, so now we should give a proper name based on the naming convention, right? So it's just validating whether we have that uh, name already used by some other user or not. If it is not, then we are good to proceed with this name, right? And the region, as I told, right, we are going to use the same region, Asia Pacific, because we are in Bangalore, and based on that to get storage account name is already taken out. We can give one. No, sorry, as it was telling, Blob Storage test. Let's see if it is there. It is just trying to validate whether that name is existing or not. So now, so we are going to create that in the South India region, right? So now, then whenever if you see, right, we go to the performance, like what is the primary services type that we are going to choose now, right? Or we take give one more. Should not be there. I hope. Okay, so when you come to this one, primary services, right? We have, as we decided discussed, right? We have Azure Blob Storage, we have Azure Data Alex Storage, and Azure Files and other tables and queues that we have seen, right? So these are the primary services are the part of the storage service we have. So, but in this one, since we are going to explore particularly on this blob storage and data lake storage, we are going to choose this option. Okay. So now looks like there is no, this name is not available. So we are good to proceed with this one. We have given this name, we have chosen the region. Okay. Then we have chosen the primary services that we are going to take, and now whether which one we are going to choose based on the performance, right? So let's choose the premium one. Okay, because when we are doing any practicals, right, we'll be uh doing the we'll be expecting the performance is good, right? So let's go with the premium one. And when we come to this redundancy, what does this redundancy mean and what is the region means? I'll just show you now. So you see, when you click on that drop down, since we have chosen this premium one, we are getting only locally redundant storage. So we'll understand what is this locally redundant storage. But when you click on the standard, we'll be having two different, like LRS and GRS. Okay, but if you are choosing any other region based on the available, let's say, if you are choosing, right, let's say India, Central India, let's say I'm looking for Central India. I say Pacific India, South Central. That's it. Choose this one. You see, we have many other redundancy options. So the what is the main purpose of this redundancy option that we have get it here, right? So like how Azure is going to keep our data, it's in which way that is going to keep our data so that it will be more secure. Based on the security level, we have the different zones, right? So we have locally redundant storage, we have geo redundant storage, we have zone redundant storage, we have geo zone redundant storage, right? So these are all the four categories of redundancy based on the security of the data that we will be keeping in our storage, right? Based on that it is given. But since we are not much worried about our security and all that, because we are just going to do some practices, right? And it's a free account that we are using, so we'll go with this one. So now what and all we have chosen? We have chosen subscription anyway. By default we have got it. Resource group which we have created just now, we have given that resource group, and we have given one valid storage account name, and we have chosen the sorry, South India. We need to choose it, right? So because we have created the resource group in South India. Asia Pacific, South Asia. South India. Okay, so South India we are giving, and since we will be exploring this blob and ADLS storage, we have chosen this one, the primary services type, and we are going with premium since we are looking for the performance should be good. That's why we are choosing the low latency, so there will be getting good performance, right? And locally redundant since we are not, it is not production data, so that we need to be much worried about it. But so we are going to choose this locally redundant. Okay. So when you come to this region and redundancy, right, these are two main things that will be coming across all the services that we'll be creating, right? So we just need to understand a little bit on these two things. Let's go there. I'll just have one slide, just will not spend much time. So what is a region, right? So a region is a physical location where Microsoft has one or more of its data center. So wherever Microsoft has kept its data center, right? That is called a region. So why do we choose a region, right? So whenever we are creating an account, it is asking for the region. So why we are choosing the region? So to place the resource close to your user for better performance, right? And our main intention is like wherever we are keeping the resources, we should get good performance, right? If you're not keeping the resources in our near location, then we'll be having issues of the throughput. It will be having high network latency and all that, those issues and all will be facing. So consider, like, let's say data engineer who is sitting in Hyderabad, and his data center he is choosing is to be in Kolkata, which is East India region, right? So obviously we'll be having high latency because the distance is more here, data needs to travel and all that, right? So low throughput will get, and long response time will get in this scenario. But if you are choosing a region where you are located correctly, that should be nearer to you, then we should choose the region. Like we have one more option if you see, right? Uh, Deploy at Azure extended zone. Let's say if you are in Hyderabad, okay, you're sitting in Hyderabad, the data engineer stays at Hyderabad, and we have a Azure data, we have a extended zone, like where, let's say we have a head office near to that. There is no head office near to Hyderabad. That's the region they have kept one extended zone here. If you see what it's mentioned, deploy to near to you, whichever this extended zone is available near to you, that you can deploy your services over there. That is the main purpose. The main purpose of this one is to get good performance. That's the only thing, right? So now, as you have seen this one, okay, so when we are seeing this one, the redundancy, as we have seen, we have got 4 drop downs there. So let's try to understand how it helps to keep your data secure, right? So now, if you see, whenever, let's say, if you have a file, you are going to store it in the Azure account, Azure storage, right? So when you are choosing the locally redundant storage, what it is going to do, as we know, like all the storage services, is it is based on the distributed computing, right? Whatever we are learning it in the cloud services, right? So whenever we try to have a file, we create, we try to keep it in the Azure, right? If you are choosing locally redundant storage, then how it is going to behave? Like it will have definitely 3 copies, but it will be having in a single data center. Okay, so what is the risk of it? Right? If you're copying 3 copies of the same data in one data center, and let's say because of some reason that data center goes down, then will not be able to recover the data, right? So the recovery is a problem when we are going with this option, LRS, because we'll be having 3 copies in the same single data center, and if due to any reason, if that data center goes down, we'll be having data loss, right? So, but if you wanted to secure your data more than this, right? Like let's say if you are you have some sensitive data, and if it get lost, right? So it will be having some problem, right? In that case, we'll be coming to the June redundant storage, right? So now what will happen in this scenario, right? We'll be having 3 copies anyway, but in June way, Zone 1 will be having 3 copies, zone 2 will be having 3 copies, zone 3 will be having, based on zone will be having, right? So the chances of if one data center goes down, we can, I mean, if one zone goes down, we can recover the data from the other zone. Similarly, geo-redundant storage also will be having a primary data center and paired data center over there. So in this case, if the data center failure also, secondary data is not readable normally. So if one data center goes down, we can recover it from the other data center. But here in this case, geo zone redundant storage is right. We'll be having multiple zones. We will be having multiple data centers, right? So here the possibility of data loss is nearly zero. Like even if we have 3 copies, will be having multiple uh, zones and data centers across the globe, right? So based on this, right, how securely you are going to store your data, that depends on this redundancy option that we are getting it here. So we can explore, I mean, by your own, or you can Google it. But now, as we have seen, all these options are there, right? So we are going to go ahead with that. We will just review and create, right? It will take some time. It will just basically give whatever options that we have chosen. It will just give those whatever we have chosen. It is just giving us for review, okay, whether what we wanted have chosen correctly. So as we have seen, right, we have subscription anyway, it is default. The resource group we have given, we have used that resource group which we have created just before some time. And location, as we have given South India. And this is our storage account name. And this is the primary services that we have chosen is this one, Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage. And for performance purpose, we have chosen the premium one. And account type is Bob Blocks. And replication as you have chosen LRS, right? So all those whatever we have chosen, we are seeing it here, and all these are all by default. We are not changing anything. Okay. So now I'm going to create the storage. So you see it is running here. It will take some time. Deployment is in progress. It will take some time. It is still in progress. So it is still in progress. It don't take much time, but we need to wait for some time. So now that we have seen like how to create a blob storage, let it continue until that we can see, right? So as we are seeing here, like we have created this blob storage. Now we are going to explore this. We'll upload this files there, and we'll try to understand how it is not going to allow us to create different uh, hierarchical folders. But we'll now again create another storage. But let's see, before that, let it get created. Let's deploy it. Yeah, it is deployed. Deployment successful. So now go to the resources. So our this blob storage is, if you see here, right, it is ready now. Okay. Blob storage is ready. So now we are going to create a storage which is having, we will increase the ADLS Gen2 storage, right? It is just an option change that we need to do. So now you can see that whatever we have created now, right, we should be seeing it here. And whatever we have just now created, right? You see, this one we have created just now. You can see this one. Okay. So now we are just going to create another storage which is of type ADLS Gen2, right? So now the same options that we are getting, same thing. Only we will be choosing the resource group that we have given. Yeah, this one we have done it just now. Storage account name we can keep something. Let's see if it is allowing, or else we'll change it. Yes. So now let's see. Anyway, we're going to choose it South India. We have chosen the other storage as well, right? So then we are going to choose. We are going to create a this Azure Data Storage, right? So we have chosen this one. Now we are going to go with the premium, same way that we have done. This is also LCRS. We are going to choose it. And one change that we are going to do it here is like in the advanced option, we need to choose the hierarchical namespace. We are going to enable this one. So whenever we are enabling this option, we are getting the feature of hierarchical structure, and that is called our Azure ADLS Gen2 storage, right? So now we'll review and create. Only one option, like we have chosen, right? In the advanced, we have chosen the hierarchical namespace, right? You see. Now, this is the name that we have given. All the same thing that we have chosen, whatever we have chosen for the blob, but only one option that we have enabled is this enable hierarchical namespace, right? So now we are going to create this ADLS storage. So it will be created the similar way. This deploying now. Now, once we have both the storage ready, right? We'll upload few files here and see how Blob is not allowing us to create directories, and with ADLS we are going to get the folder structure enabled. That option we have, that will be seen. So give us a moment. Yeah. Now since it is deployed, let's go to the resources. We can see this being created, right? But when we are seeing it with the ADLS storage, right, you see this is enabled as we have enabled it here. So now I'm just going to home page. Okay. So if you see, we have just created now one resource group that we have created, one blob storage that we have created, and the ADLS Gen2 storage that we have created, that we can see it here in the home page of Azure, right? So now yeah, we don't need this too, right? So now we are going to go to this storage. Okay. Inside that storage, in order to store something, we need to go to the containers. We need to come to data. We need to then add a container. Okay. We'll create one container. Let's keep the name is any name that I can give based on the convention allowed. No, it is not allowed. Containers. One will create. Okay, we have created one container where we'll be having a file loaded, right? So if you see, since we have chosen the ADLS storage right here, if you see, now I'm just going to go to the blob storage. We'll just parallelly compare how we are not getting that option available here. Okay. Yeah, now you see we are in the storage, blob storage, and we are going to go to the data, and we are going to create a container here. Add a container. Okay, this is created. Now we see the container blob. Now you see when we went inside this blob storage, right? This is our blob container that we have created. This is our ADLS. Inside this ADLS storage, we have created the container. Here inside this storage, we have created the container, right? So now if you see, if I'm going to add a directory, it is not going to allow us, because since this is a ADLS, sorry, since this is a blob storage that we have created, right? You see, this is the blob storage that we have created. So you're not getting the option. So this will create a virtual directory. A virtual directory does not actually exist in Azure until you paste or upload blob into it. So it is basically not allowing us to do that, right? So now if you wanted to upload any file to this storage, so I can just upload, go to desktop, my desktop, I can we can choose any files. Override if the file exists. We do not have any files because we have not loaded, but anyway, if you are not clicking also, it's fine. Let's upload those files that we have chosen. That will be uploaded here. Okay, so now we can see this files being uploaded to the blob storage. If you wanted to see that, you can click on edit. I've just taken few sample records just to see. I mean, we are not going to manipulate anything over here, but our intention is just to create the storage account, right? Now, if you see, we can see that. Okay, so now here we have uploaded the file in the root folder. We are not able to create any directories inside this blob storage. But when we go to this one, right, where we are creating a ADLS storage that we have, right? We have created one container, right? Inside that, if you wanted to add a directory, we can add it. So let's say directory 1. Save. Yeah, directory 1 is added. Let's say I wanted to add one more directory inside this one. Then also I can add a directory, right? If I wanted to add another directory inside this one, right, also I can add another. Anyway, however you wanted to play with this directory structure, we can play with this one, but it is not allowing us to add folders there in blob, right? So let's say if I wanted to load one file here, let's upload one file here. Customer data, I'm going to upload it here to this location. So now see, inside directory 2, I'm going to upload another file. Browse the files. So now as you can see the same way, if you're going directory 1, we have this file being there. Same way, it is there. So we have created the directory structure here, and we have seen like how we can hierarchical directories. We can create any kind of structure that you wanted to have directory wise, right? We can create. So now the next step is like, as we have seen like how it is going to behave in blob storage and how it is going to behave in the Azure storage, I mean ADLS storage, right? So we are going to explore like how we can use these files in our Databricks cluster. In the next video, now that we have seen like all this, right? We have created this resource group, we have created this blob storage, we have uploaded few files, we have uploaded few files in the directory structure. Now we are going to create a Databricks cluster in the next video, and we will see like how we can explore all these files that we have uploaded, right? How we can play around with those files programmatically. But before that, we need to create a Azure Databricks cluster, right? In the next videos, we will be focusing mainly on this, creating this Databricks cluster, so that we can play with the data programmatically using PySpark, which is our main focus, right? So now we have created one storage account. I mean, we have created one Azure account. Inside that, we have created a storage account. I mean, resource group we have created. Inside that, we have created a storage account. So three things are ready with us. Like Azure account is ready. We have storage. I mean, we have a resource group. Inside that, we have a storage group. So all these three services. Mainly we have resource group is a services and our storage is services that we have created. So next we'll be focusing on this one. So already I think we are all good. What do we want to discuss mainly before we start exploring our programmatical stuff, right? This is what we need to understand. Okay, what is blob storage? What is ADLS Gen2 storage? And we have done with that. So in the next video, so we'll be creating a database cluster, and we'll see how we can create that cluster and all that. So hope you all understood it. Thanks. We'll see you in the next video.